is everybody doing? Get your libations. You're going to need something tonight. Get your libations. Get whatever you need tonight to get through it, because it's not going to be pretty. Listen, hit that like button. Please hit that like button. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please take a moment to do that. I would appreciate it. Listen, just so you all are aware, I just want to reiterate this, and if y'all have not signed up for tomorrow, this weekend, our chapter information settings, go to ADOS.org. It is there for you to sign up. It is there for you to be a part of what we're doing. And if you need a reason, it's going to be through Zoom. If you need a reason to do that, we have it coming up tomorrow, which is Thursday, and this weekend. So if you need a reason, I'm going to give you one right now. Right. This is the culmination of everything that we have talked about. Right. Remember when Piketty came out and we started sharing quotes and we told everybody to read Capital of the 21st Century? It was a mammoth of a book or whatever, but at least kind of digest parts of it so that you can figure out what's going on. And listen, the chickens is coming home to roost, if you didn't know. So it is quite the pickle. Now, I'm not going to get into it just yet. I want to show you all something else before I get into it. But the greatest wealth transfer in history is here, with familiar rich winners, right? So when we said, listen, everybody's living off wealth transfers, and we said all that stuff, people didn't want to hear about it, and people have been playing games. Now, one of the things I just want us to be through with, I want us to be through with the game. So while we're talking about, and while they're talking about the wealth transfers and who's going to inherit the millions and the house and all that stuff, we got people out here playing bingo. Let's just clear it up. Let's just have a little conversation about it. Moving forward with tangible repair. No, that's not what this is. I want to explain something because I have to break this down. The way wealth is being transferred right now is very complex. And instead of us meeting that with the complexity of what Antonio and I have explained over the last few years, you all are meeting it with bingo. We are talking about, when I talk about complexity, and we're going to get into it, we're talking about taxes. We're talking about audit. And y'all are helping people build hookah joints and different things. This is silliness. So let me just go into it. What are you talking about, Yvette? Well, okay. Let's just go into some of the nitty and the gritty. It don't got to take long. Nitty and the gritty. Annual wealth projected to be inherited by each generation. Understand that you all are, they need to break this down by race. So I'm going to just move this chart because it doesn't fit well. And I apologize for that but it doesn't need to because you ain't there. I'm just saying. I ain't there either. I'm not saying nothing about you. Now I want you to pay close attention to this. This just first line. This first line right here, get you right there. An intergenerational transfer of wealth is in motion in America. Right? And it will dwarf any of the past. What they're telling you right now is that this wealth transfer is going to be a mammoth. People are going to be stabilized because of it. Now, mind you, while this wealth is flowing down to people, and we're talking about we need reparations, some of you are listening to people who are talking to you in ways that are very libertarian. And I talked a bit about this on Monday's Patreon show. They are talking to you in ways that are libertarian. What you need right now, what we need right now is a redistribution of wealth. Because that's what reparations means. That's what happens on Capitol Hill. It's crazy that Obama got in trouble for saying redistribution of wealth. That's what happens. Anytime you take in tax dollars, you say this go over here, that go over there, put that on the left side or whatever, put that on the right, give that to the defense, that's what it is. But we don't even get excited about tax policy and say we're gonna riot over this tax policy. We're gonna do no. We don't do that. We got bingo balls. We got bingo balls for a refurbishment. Bingo balls to give the elderly new kitchens. Right? We got money for fake museums and fake conferences and stuff like that. We got money for stuff, but except for real advocacy. Everybody's playing games. And let me tell you, America right now is not the place for games. It is not the place to be toyed with. So let's just keep going. Of the 73 million baby boomers, the youngest are turning 60. The oldest boomers are nearing 80. Born in mid-century as U.S. birth rates surged in tandem with an enormous leap in prosperity after the Depression and World War II, boomers are now beginning to die in larger numbers along with Americans over 80. Most will leave behind thousands of dollars, a home, or not much at all. Which category you think we fit in, ADOS? Because they don't talk about the millions. We're going to get into that too. Millions, thousands, not much, nothing, debt. Imagine everybody else about to get a windfall and we about to get debt. Just imagine. I just want you to, just hold tight. Just hold tight to it. Hold your mule. In 1989, total family wealth in the United States was about 38 trillion. Adjusted for inflation, by 2022, that wealth had more than tripled, reaching 140 trillion. Of the 84 trillion projected to be passed down from older Americans to millennials and Gen X heirs through 2045, 16 trillion will be transferred within the next decade. 16 trillion. Baby boomers hold half of the nation's 140 trillion in wealth. Here's how that baby boomers born in 1946 to 1964, 78.3 trillion. Look at where the money is going. Private businesses, pensions, equities, real estate, other assets. Here goes Generation X. Who getting what? Go well, born 1965 to 1980. That would be me. Silent Gen. The money's is moving. I mean, you can take a look at that for yourself, but the money is moving and the money is being passed down. What I want to express to you is that we don't have time to play the games that everybody seems to want to play in terms of advocacy. We don't have time to finance the things people are trying to finance. Let me come out of here one second to say one thing. Moments never last. Moments never, ever, ever, ever last. That's why they're moments. That's why when people talk to you about mindfulness, they say, be in the moment, be here now, because that's the moment. You can let people squander this moment if you want to with bingo games and running around talking about we're going to go to Africa, year of return. I was in Ghana. I wasn't at the California Reparations because I was in Ghana with Kamala and all this kind of stuff. All these people who want to do all this little fancy jerking and jiving. I got a reality show. Y'all going to come to my comedy spot. They're going to come to you all the way out of your reparations. All this stuff is exploitative stuff from people who don't even understand how to calculate what is needed or how to navigate a political space to get it done. And yet, we have all been playing with them. We have all been letting them just run. Listen, if you see Robin Rue Simmons, you should have her deplatformed. And I don't mean say you can't come here to this school. I mean you should, as a student, say, listen, unless she wants to call this thing, I did a housing program in Evanston I want to tell y'all about. Unless she want to call it what it is, you should protest and say she can't come here. Because this is too serious for her to be running around saying that she's doing something she ain't. Her and Ron Daniels should be ashamed of themselves. What we are seeing passed down right here is wealth, and real wealth. This is real wealth being passed down. And y'all remember what Ron Daniels said. Remember the thing is the video is up somewhere, but the beginning of what, but I think his comment is still up. He said, we asked, well, somebody asked in the audience during that Atlanta roundtable for those who didn't see it. Somebody asked, well, how is this reparations? How is Evanston reparation? And he said, because it's something. Ain't no fool like an old fool. Ain't no fool like an old fool. Listen, he said because it's something. We live in an America where trillions of dollars are being passed down. It is not enough for something. It is not enough for your grandmama to be able to get her kitchen redone, and you be left with nothing. You might not even get the house. How many kids she got? What is she? So she get to have new cabinets or whatever, and y'all get to split it and what y'all gonna get? Do you even know? Okay, don't even worry about it. We're just gonna get right back to it. Ain't no need. Ain't no need. Ain't no need for that. Remember we told y'all about in vivo life transfers, in life transfers. We told y'all about that in 2016. It is now 2023. That's 7 years later. Now we have done nothing meaningful, and not because we have changed the awareness, we have changed the conversation, but people just keep running away, and everybody lets them run away. Well, here's the moment that you're going to miss. Heirs increasingly don't need to wait for the passing of elders to directly benefit from family money. A result of bursting popularity of giving while living. They got a little thing for it. Sound like a little jingle, don't it? Giving while living. Giving while living. Ain't that lovely? Including property purchases, repeated tax-free cash transfers of estate money, and more, providing millions with a head start. Adolph, so y'all getting a head start? I'm trying to figure out why everybody's so lackadaisical. I'm just trying to figure this out. It's no longer an oncoming phenomenon, said Douglas Boneparth, a 38-year-old financial advisor whose New York firm caters to affluent millennials. It's present day. Now, let me come out here 1 second and say something. There's always some knucklehead in the comments saying, what that got to do with me? You know, he can do that. I'm going to get it out the mud. What him getting that money got to do with me? Because you got to compete with him. How you think you compete with him on any level? You going to compete with him in real estate? He's affluent. He got a bunch of money and got not only, we ain't even talking about the social capital. We just talking about the wealth right now. So he got a bunch of wealth. He got a whole, this man right here got a whole firm dedicated to him. How you gonna compete with that? Magic, right? Ta-da! See, the whole point behind reparations, yes, you are getting the plunder. Yes, we're getting what's owed. And we're getting what's owed because everybody else is getting it from their parents. Well, because our parents were used, like we said, as the shoes in the race, and we're not in the race, there's nothing to be passed down because that was stolen. So when something is stolen, it has to be repaid because you need to inherit it now. If you could just go out of school and do like your parents did and just go there and go to a job or go to a factory, it would be a different kind of conversation. The debt would still be owed, but it wouldn't be as necessary to your life. But now you got to compete with him, and you better barbecue a mildew, baby, because that money is coming. Let's get right back to this right here. Like he said, it's present day. It's right here, right now. And you know what we got? These people are inheriting money. We got a bunch of libertarian Negroes who say we just got to live below our means. You know, go outside and slaughter a hog or something. What? And it's already impacting the broader economy, greasing the wheels of social mobility for some and leaving obstacles for those left out as the cost of living, housing, and raising family surges. So let's talk a little bit about the cost. Let's just come out here for a second, right, and talk a little bit about the cost. See, it's not just that you don't have enough either. The costs are skyrocketing. And the costs are not skyrocketing just because people are making things expensive. Let me just come out of here and say one thing real quick. The cost would not be high if people couldn't pay for it. The cost would not be high if people couldn't pay. So we will go and say, oh my God, they're charging double the price for the used car. Have y'all seen the cost of used cars lately? I'm gonna ride mine till the wheels fall off. But have y'all seen, like, they and which becomes dangerous at a certain point, but that's a different conversation, right? I drive a Volvo, hopefully it won't be for that. But the point I'm trying to make is the stuff wouldn't be expensive. It's not expensive. That's just the cost of being American now. So what's happening is that everybody is adjusting. Yeah, we got supply chain problems and other stuff, but people are adjusting prices because they know people got it. If that were not the cost, if there weren't a bunch of money flowing down, you wouldn't have those prices. If that were, but there's a bunch of money coming down, and the people who are selling things know it, and they're gonna get a piece of that money because America is a capitalist economy. So let me just show you a little bit about how stuff is changing. Let me just show you. Housing price increases outpace inflation by 150% since 1970. So when your parents tell you, y'all just got to do what I did, prices ain't what prices were. You got to tell them, no, it's not like that no more. Life has changed. You don't really know about life right now. You knew about life back then. Don't keep telling me about, well, I tell you what we did. It's a different era. This is not the summer of 85. Now I want you to change it consumer price index versus change in median home sale price. I want you to look. I'm going to come all the way up here, and then I'm going to just scroll down slowly. Whoop, you saw it. Whoop, there you all the way in shock. Housing prices versus inflation. Look at that. Look at that blue line. Look at that blue line versus. And let me tell you a little bit about it. Let me just read let me just read the reason for that. Let me tell you what it means. We found that home prices have rapidly increased over the last 5 decades, eclipsing the inflation rate by 150% since 1970. In fact, they say, if home prices grew at the same rate as inflation since 1970, the median home price today would be just $177,788 rather than $408,100. That's a big difference. That is a big difference. Additionally, the median American household's income has just slightly kept ahead of inflation over the last 40 years, leaving many wondering what will happen this year as the inflation rate continues to climb rapidly. What they are telling you is that people are making less money. Now, how is this possible, Yvette? They're saying people is making less money and everything's going up. How is that, Yvette? How is that possible? Something got to be done. Well, I tell you what's happening. They're making less money, and so they're surviving and thriving off the money that's being passed down. That's the thing they're not telling you. They're saying, oh my God, everything's getting expensive and people making less money. Something got to be done. You want to know why ain't nothing getting done? Because that money is flowing down. And the government's not doing anything because the government knows this money's about to flow down. They'll be all right. And the ones who won't be all right, yeah, you got some whites at the very, very bottom, but they still got the social capital of whiteness. But nearly all of us, we are a wealthless group. And so what happens when everything goes up and the stuff doesn't flow down to us as inheritance, we starve out. I don't care what no libertarian Negro tells you, because we got to stop saying, I believe we can just get it and we just got to get together. That's a very libertarian perspective. When you don't believe in the necessity of government at all, when you have no role for government, when you speak about things as if you are a superhero or a Marvel character, you have no use for government. If that is who you are, that is fine. You can be who you want to be. You can be a bumblebee for all I care. But what that means in terms of how we define ideologies, you are a libertarian. I would prefer you walk up to me and say, Yvette, I'm a libertarian American, and I would know how to file you in my head. Instead, they'd be like, no, I just believe in us. No, I want you to tell me. See, everybody, I said this yesterday, but it applies here. It applies here too. I mean, Monday. Everybody needs to figure out what is the role of government in your mind. Figure it out, because if not, you're just gonna walk around sounding stupid and being stupid. Ideology is important. I'm not saying you can't be a black Republican. I'm not saying I'm not saying you can't be an ADOS Republican. I'm not saying you can't be an ADOS Democrat. I have had ADOS Republicans say, well, we got to take this part of the budget out and put it over here, then we can do reparations. Okay, I'll deal with that. But reparations is a big government idea. Now, if you don't see a role for government, then of course you're going to, your two brain cells, they're going to misfire and they're going to start fighting each other, because you can't be in a point where you don't see a role for government and then be in favor of reparations. So ideologically, I would just want everybody, hey, just figure out what the role of government, you feel the role of government should be, right? Just, we don't really have that conversation enough. What should the role of government be? Because we have to move past 101. You have to move to an ideological perspective. I know people who vote Democrat and say, I don't believe in government. People, you'll have Negroes vote Republican and say the government ought to do something about this, and this. Well, you are in a party that believes in limited government. So do you even know how you have situated yourself on the ideological spectrum? You got to figure out politics. You have to do it. You got to do it. There's no other way. I wish you could live life without learning stuff. It just don't work that way. Here's it. The wheels of social mobility. Here's another chart. The top 10% of households hold the majority of the wealth. That's not a shocker, right? Just a little general chart. In a minute, we're going to get to a racial chart, though. But before we do that, let's just read a little bit. This was a good article. I got to give it to the Times. It was a really good article. A key reason there are such large, soon-to-be inherited sums is the uneven way boomers superbly benefited from price growth in the financial housing markets. Now, let me come out of here for a second. right? Let me come out of here for 1 second. Because what does this say? What did we say? We said this is about timing. Boomers will tell you, yeah, I work hard. And I'm not saying that you didn't work hard, but I'm saying that like they don't even understand the elements and ingredients to their success. I walk 8 miles. If you could walk 8 miles, you could do like I did. You know, I walk 8 miles and I just work hard. The problem with your generation, stop right there. No, 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 no. You were able, that generation was able to take advantage of something that existed for them that they did not protect for us. That's what I mean in terms of Adolf. In terms of the other ones, they were able to benefit from whiteness or whatever the case may be, right? And timing. They had a combined, you were white and you had timing. Goodness gracious. And you had wealth and then you probably inherited. Oh my goodness gracious me. But with our boomers, they even in terms of having a life, in terms of just having a degree of stability, all of that for them, for all of them, that's timing. And the thing that they were supposed to do, they were supposed to protect that for us. So all of the elements that make sure that you have a good life, you have to protect those elements for your kids. So let me just say, let's just say, for instance, your parents work a factory job. Mine did. Part of your job as a factory worker is to make sure the factories don't leave. Because even if you don't raise nothing else, you know how to raise a good factory worker. Get up early, go to work, work hard, work up a good sweat, be on time, whatever. You know how to, if that's what you worked at, you know how to do that. You got at least, at minimum, this is the baseline. You got to protect the job that you had. Our parents didn't. You saw them in the streets. Did you see any of them in the streets when all these factories went to Mexico and other people were let in to work these jobs? Did you see any of them? No. That is a political obligation. Now let's get back to this. Let's go to this next paragraph. The average price of a U.S. house has risen like 500%. I think we saw that one. Yeah, but let's just since 1983. Yeah, when most baby boomers were in their 20s and 30s, prime years for household formation. As U.S. corporations have grown into global behemoths, those deeply invested in the stock market have found even bigger returns. The stock market, as measured by the benchmark S&P 500 index, is up more than 2,800% since the beginning of 1983. Around the time index funds took off as a mainstream investment for corporate employees and many other middle-class professionals. Those figures do not include dividends and are adjusted for inflation, which they have far outstripped. Consumer prices have risen about 200% over those 40 years. So 200 to what was it? 200 to 2,800. and you begin to see the benefit. That's all I'm saying. The boomers who benefited from decades of price growth in real estate and financial assets were in general already rich, white, or both. Attributable in part to years of housing discrimination and a lack of access to financial tools and advice for people of color. I hate that people of color. No, say Negroes and then say what you want to say about every other group. Right? Don't just, gosh, they do that. Ooh, it's so irksome. But let's go through something else. But the wealth transfer in its full scope, like any widespread financial phenomenon, will have many nuances. A patchwork of lower wage earners may be able to move into a parent's paid off home and a hot housing market or receive a small windfall still meaningful enough to pay off debts. So what they're saying is, like, even if your parents are not wealthy and they're not passing you down millions or $500,000 or $700,000, they got the house, right? And so, like, depending on what child you are, you could be the only child or the other child got whatever, you inherit that. That's going to be passed down to you. Something is coming your way. ADOS, is anything coming your way? Do you even know if anything's coming your way? Have you even had that conversation? Hey. Hey. How remember y'all remember the black lady, because I don't know her lineage. I think Ted Koppel interviewed her. And he asked her, he said, well, oh my gosh, you've done well. You got this house and you got a lot to pass down to your kids. And she said, this is my life. I'm going to live my life. Now, how in the world an old bird like that, you going to live what life? That life is like, people don't know how the sun set. No. At that point, your job is to, okay, now what I have to secure for the kids that I have. White people is out here giving in life, and people and these quote unquote, these other brown people are giving in life transfers, and you got an old mama talking about that's her life, and she finna go somewhere. She finna go gamble at the casino cause it's her life. Ain't even got but a little bit. Ain't the ones who got something, they ain't got but a little bit. Got a teensy bit. Most won't inherit nothing. Most of us won't inherit nothing. But those of us who can, a lot of y'all got parents who just want to go gamble at the casino or go to the, I'm going to go, me and so-and-so, and then we going. Remember I told y'all all the time about the Essence Festival. They going to the Essence Festival. Where that money come from? So wait a minute. I won't have any stability because you took out a second mortgage on the house. What you do, reverse mortgage or whatever? Oh, it doesn't come due until you die. So you clear. You ain't worried about it. Oh, what kind of policy we working with? I see you got a new motorcycle, daddy, granddaddy. What kind of insurance policy you got? When you die, if you gonna get motorcycles and stuff, I understand we might not have no money, but you just went and got a Harley. So let's talk about policies. Oh, I don't even believe in that, man. Y'all can just put me anywhere. Oh, okay. I'm just saying you got to get honest about people. But let's continue. High net worth and ultra net worth individuals, those worth at least $5 million and $20 million in cash or easily cashable assets, make up only 1.5%. Yeah, that's a lot of. And let me just tell you, what people say on their tax returns and what people have is different things. But anyway, together they constitute 42% of the volume of expected transfers through 2045, according to the financial research firm Cerulli Associates. That's about 36 trillion as of 2020, numbers that have most likely increased since. And we ain't even talking about people who gonna give money away to the people who is not even their kids. You got people who gonna give money away to little white Teddy up the street and all kinds of stuff. Like, the scale of the transfer is made possible in part by the U.S. tax code. Individuals can transmit up to 12.9 million to heirs during life or at death without federal estate tax, and 26 million for married couples. Here's the thing, y'all remember what they started calling that? They started calling the estate tax the death tax. What right have you to take somebody's money at death? We don't even talk about taxes. We will not get on the street. We will not get on the street and protest about no taxes. Now, taxes, we talked about, and I talked about taxes in terms of reparations, right? In terms of like tax policy, in terms of how you tax people, that controls whether or not you have the money to do the stuff you say you want to do. That's one part of it. But we don't even talk about how we're treated by the IRS. We don't have a conversation about that at all. I'm not saying that you should not get in the street and protest injustice. I would never say that. But like, this is an injustice to all of us. And we don't want to talk about it. IRS acknowledges Black Americans face more audit scrutiny. So they get to pass stuff down. It don't get touched. Pass it down in life, pass it down in death, whatever. We don't care. You can keep the money if you do capital gains. You can keep that capital gains and keep it accruing, and it don't get taxed at all. But those of us who are Negro, we ADOS, we work a job, and you on our heads, and we don't want to talk about that. We certainly don't want to protest it. The commissioner, Daniel Werfel, said the agency was working to correct unfairness in enforcement. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. We don't even pay attention to the big stuff. These are the levers. These are the things that set the standard and create certain outcomes. And we don't want to protest that. We won't get in the street for that. How many times somebody showed up at the office of the Department of Revenue in Washington, D.C. and said, we want this to stop right now? Nothing. Keep paying attention to the wrong thing. I'm talking about us as a group. I'm not talking about anybody here. I'm talking about us. as a group, protesting all kinds of stuff, giving money to all kinds of stuff. We gonna have a reparations rally. We gonna be downtown. We all gonna be dressed up in suits, blue suits, brown shoes, and red ties. And what is that going to do? I'm just asking, because let me just say this. It's a lot of playing of the games going on. There's a lot of playing of the games going on. And it's not serious politics. We have to get out of this mindset that just because somebody is doing something, that they're doing something that is effective. You can go down, listen, if you plan a protest of the part, even if you did that, you would still have to have a plan. If you did Department of Revenue, you would have to have what you want them to do. What changes do you want to see? But at least you're going down the round path. Everybody just said, I said, well, what are these reparations? I didn't say nothing about it when it was happening because, whatever. I'm not going, because if I say something, well, Yvette, you told people not to go, so it didn't happen, and it's your fault. People just say the dumbest things to me. So I'm going to let you do it. But afterwards, I'm going to sit back and say, what was the goal? I saw a few reparations. What was the goal? Does anybody know the goal? Who were you trying to influence? Did you have meetings with somebody on Capitol Hill? Did you set up meetings? You're supposed to have a relationship with the press. You're supposed to reach out to the press and see who you can get to come. Like, the first ADOS conference was covered by the New York Times. Who of note in terms of mass, because you're on Capitol Hill where every news agency, listen to me, every news agency has a headquarter in DC, has a bureau, everyone. Like they got somebody on the ground there. There should be at least a dozen or so news agencies covering you. Did they? How many? Like, was it 12? Was it 24? How many covered you? Okay, well, how many meetings did you have on Capitol Hill? Okay. None, no meetings. Okay. Oh, wait, they weren't even in session when y'all came. Okay, well, what was the outcome? Nothing. Okay, just spending energy, kinetic energy. It was like exercise. Okay. And then what was the follow-up after that? After you went over there and you jump around and you tailpoke, you just jump around and say you want your check, then what happens next? Oh, there was no tactic, no strategy. You was just down there to be down there? Oh, okay. Listen, we can't do that no more. We got to stop doing stuff just for the sake of going outside. And, if you want to take a walk, you can take a walk. You don't have to do that. This is too serious. Trillions are being passed down. When that happens, you're starved out. Now, a lot of the people who entice you to do stupid stuff, they're going to be fine because they use the community as their ATM. People who use the community, I don't care whether we're talking about Ron Daniels or people who run juke joints. People who do that will be okay. I don't even know if Ron Daniels is going to be okay because, he's $100,000 in debt from his conference. He did a conference and said, oh, Lord, things done got expensive. I'm $100,000 in debt, but I know y'all going to come through for me. Wait a minute, we got to come through for you? That hotel was expensive. Yes, because you still live in the summer of 85 or 75 for you because you're 80-some years old. Yes, it's expensive. Y'all don't know how much stuff costs. And then you don't know how much nothing costs, Ron Daniels. And you want to go lead a reparations movement. You couldn't even count enough to do your stuff at the Lord. You couldn't even count enough to do your conference. It's so man, by the time they charge for electricity, did you know how much they charge for electricity these days? That's a lot of electricity. I don't even think we use that much electricity. What you think about it? I think we ought to have somebody look at that. Woo! Let me go to the next one. I tell you. As a result, although high net worth and ultra high net worth individuals could inherit more than $30 trillion by 2045, their prospective taxes on estates and transfers is $4.2 trillion. Robert Fitizzi, a wealth strategies advisor for Bank of America Private Bank, noted in a conversation with his colleagues recorded for clients that inheritances are income tax free to children with very few exceptions. They are passing that stuff down straight. You hear me? they are passing that stuff down without having to give anything to Uncle Sam. Meanwhile, Uncle Sam is on our neck. And don't nobody say nothing. While tax evasion scandals tend to catch the public eye, legally approved forms of tax avoidance are the major tool of wealth preservation. Morris Pearl, 60, a former managing director at BlackRock, the largest asset management firm in the world, points to himself as an example. People are following the law just fine, said Mr. Pearl, who started at Salomon Brothers in the 1980s. I generally don't pay much taxes. Mr. Pearl has 2 young adult sons with trust funds in 7 figures. He is also the chair of the Patriotic Millionaires, a nonprofit group of well-heeled African Americans. Of well-heeled Americans pushing for the wealthy to pay much more in taxes. Now hold on. Wait a minute. He's well-heeled. He's a nonprofit group of well-heeled Americans pushing for the wealthy to pay much more in taxes. Now, here's something very interesting about that. Here's a millionaire who has millionaire funds set aside for their trust funds set aside for his kids, and he is pushing to pay more taxes. You will have Negroes saying, "No, I don't think we need to you got to get it out the mud. I don't want to have to pay no taxes." And here's the kicker. If I was rich, I wouldn't want to pay no tax either. You're not. How many times do I have to tell people you're supposed to navigate from where you are? You're not supposed to navigate from where your imagination takes you. Your imagination says, well, if I was rich, I'd tell you what I want. You are not rich. You drive the bus, sir, and ain't nothing wrong with that. Forget what that lady said. Ain't nothing wrong with driving the bus. It's something wrong, though. I don't want to be bothered with nobody who don't see themselves as who they are. If you drive the bus, you got to worry about protecting that job. You got to worry about tax policy. You got to worry about getting targeted by the IRS. You got to worry about redistribution, and you got to worry about reparations. Don't get on the bus and I'm sitting in the bus just waiting and you talking about, if I was rich, I don't know, I'd be like them too. I didn't ask you what you are in your dream. I didn't ask you what you would do if you hit the lottery. I didn't ask you that. I asked you to be a grown person with grown views. Gosh, my goodness. One reason they do not, he joked, is that the basic way to save on taxes is to not have any income. His tongue-in-cheek message being that it's far better to earn capital gains on investments that go untaxed unless or until those gains are realized when sold for cash. Ain't that something? Well, let's continue. I have right now in my stock portfolio some stock that my wife's father, who died a long time ago, bought in the 1970s. That investment has gone from a few $1,000s to many hundreds of $1,000s, Mr. Pearl noted. I've never paid a penny of taxes on all that. And I may not ever, because I might not sell, and then my kids are going to have millions of dollars in income that's never taxed in any way, shape, or form. Now, hold on a second. Before you could do any of that, you would have to have the stock. See, that's the thing. You would have to have that granddaddy, the wife's daddy, or whatever. You would have to have somebody back then who bought a bunch of stock and was able to sit, and it grows, and it's inheritance today. And you don't have to sell it. It can just sit there. See, in order for stocks to sit there, it means you don't need it. He has money coming from other places, so not only can he do that, he don't need that money. He don't got to go cash it out or take it out. So he don't get penalized. It just gets to stay there and grow, which means you have other money over here. But that money came from the wife's daddy. Your daddy, my mama, my daddy, they were not able to do those things. They were used by people and taken advantage of by people to be able to, that they will be able to make great amounts of wealth, right? So our people were taken off the board. They were not in a position because of discrimination and employment and discrimination into who you loan money for a business. You couldn't do that. So because that was taken off the board for us, that's why we talk about reparations, not just for slavery. It has to be anchored in slavery because that's where everything starts. And you have to pay for the labor and you have to pay for everything else. But you have to bring it all the way forward because we were not able to have his wife's father. We don't have that because of what race did in America. And so you have to have reparations. And you can't have people who treat that like a game. It is not a game. It is not something, well, it'll be great if we do, but if we don't, okay. No, if you don't, you get priced out of this America. If you don't, you get priced. This is not 1975. It's not 1985. It's not even 1995. It's not even 2005. This is 2023. They know this money is coming. The greatest wealth transfer in American history is coming. And the prices are going to go up with it. And if you ain't got it, you just ain't got it. But you have to get that seed money. That's why when people talk about, well, when I get my reparation, no, that is seed money. You know what he's doing with that little money? Because even if they give you $800,000 today, understand that's a little bit of money. It ain't nearly what you deserve. Not even close. That's why I say reparations is a multi-generational project. That's your down payment money. You don't eat that money up. That's seed money. You find a way to use that money to grow that money so that what he's doing, you can do that. Some other people will do other things with it. Some people have a business acumen. Then you can talk about, hey, pooling some money. We have 10 million, 20 million. What are you going to do now? And we have people who will say, we don't need nothing. He's a millionaire. And he's saying, listen, we need to pay more taxes. Mr. Pearl noted that people with only a couple of million can use securities-based loans, borrowing low-cost funds from banks using the value of a given investment portfolio as collateral. You just loan yourself money, he explained. And in many cases, if not most cases, the portfolio's rate of return exceeds the rate of interest on the loan. And I think Antonio talked about this yesterday, but when you think about this, how dumb is it that that these basketball players get paid with a W-2? Like you're losing like $10 million and everybody else is not getting anything in income. Woo! This is crazy. Mr. Pearl doesn't think the U.S. government needs more money from rich people. Of course not, to fund itself. Rather, his support for reforming the tax system arises from his belief that the rich have begun to monopolize resources and opportunity in a way that jeopardizes social stability and economic growth. I have investments in companies that depend on growth, he said. I'm not altruistic. I know. You ain't got to tell me, child. And even they go into this guy. So he works at Publix. I'm just going to tell you his story. I don't want to get too much into it because we've been here for a minute. He works at Publix, but he makes like $13 an hour, but he's set to, and he says he only has like, what did he say? He only has like $200,000 saved up. Child. Yeah, he works at Publix. He has no children, but he feels stretched. He is holding tight to his estimated $190,000 in retirement savings and living modestly, and he's about to inherit his mama's house. He holding tight. What's his name? Leland, a 53-year-old baker at a Publix supermarket in Helena, Alabama, also has a prospective inheritance, the modest house he shares with his mother, Glenda, born in 1946, which was paid off before his father died 7 years ago. Still, he consistently tells himself, am I going to have enough money? Understand something. He lives with his mother. Right? The home he shares with his mother. And you won't have the stuff that you have in our community either. Oh, what was the stuff at the back in the rob? I mean, the basement or the what? Like, people say all kind of wild stuff about people who live. Ain't nobody saying none of that, man. And he got $100,000. It ain't nearly enough, but he's gonna inherit that house. Like, the math be different for them, and even the judgment be different for them, because really it's his house at this point. He understands that. He understands that he's living in that house because he's gonna inherit the house. He understands that. We don't understand that. And he's around, and he want to be around because we want to make sure Mama ain't doing nothing or signing nothing off or whatever. He want to inherit that house. You ain't fooling me. Whew. I don't know what we're doing. Then, didn't they bring up a Negro in this article? Hold on. Oh, it was her. Hold on a second. and I didn't even understand it. I'm kind of rushing through now, but she has family who has property. But she says most people don't, right? Most ADOS don't. And she sees discrimination, blah blah blah. I said that, but at that point, I don't even understand why you're here as an aberration. If the situation that if you and your family, and I don't know anything about this woman, but if you and your family have properties, I think they said they had multiple properties or something like that. Why are you in here? Her grandfather, World War II veteran, began working independently in real estate in Detroit shortly after the war, maneuvering around prejudices. He was smart. By strategically buying, holding, selling, and renting out various properties, he managed to, an aberration. He built up a little portfolio. And he was able to pass it down. He was a good steward, too. But in 2019, the typical black family has only $23,000 in wealth. Let me tell you something. So this story don't matter. Like, it's an aberration. So, and here's the chart I just want to leave y'all with. Here's the chart I want to leave everybody with. See, white household hold disproportionate share of wealth. Shocker. There you go. There you go. While everybody's running around, hopping around, talking about, give me my check. That's not how you do. That's not how you do reparations. You don't do it through bingo. You don't do it through refurbishment. You don't do it through grifting. You don't do it by saying at least it's something. You don't do it by talking about Ghana. You don't do it through health care. You know, how many times now have we heard? Reparations could come in the form of health care. It could come in the form of school. It could come in the form of a lot of things. How are we still having that debate? I'm just asking. You know, y'all remember the Reverend got in trouble. What's his name? Mr. Amos. We put out. He backed away from it. He wasn't even there for one of the hearings. He was in Ghana, but he backed away. He backed away from his what's his name? Amos Brown. He came out and threw a whole monkey wrench in the thing. Well, and then he had to come back and try to clear it up, talking about when San Francisco was talking about the $5 million. It could be invest in education. It could be economic empowerment. It could be housing. It could be healthcare. It could be the Fillmore Heritage. Y'all didn't let that Fillmore Heritage in the go. Tired of hearing about it. So how are we still having this debate though? We still had it today. Y'all saw this tweet by Barbara Lee? Reparations is not just about repairing the damage. Now, even repairing the damage doesn't say wealth. It just says repairing the damage. That could mean a lot of things. Reparations means equity. Reparations means justice. Reparations means dismantling the systems that have kept us marginalized. Proud to support Corey's reparations resolution. Here's the thing. Everybody got to stop playing with bingo balls and language and advocacy. Reparations is not equity. Reparations is not diversity. Reparations is not justice. Reparations is not healthcare. Reparations is not bingo balls. Reparations is not education. All of those things we have a black agenda that is up on the site. You can have an environmental justice black agenda. You can have an education black agenda. We're talking about putting resources in our schools. You can have that. That is not reparations. Reparations is wealth and protection of that wealth. We need wealth and we need that wealth protected. Those are the things. You are repaying the plunder and you are protecting it. That is it. Anybody else who is saying anything else is either stupid or scared. And I don't know which one, but if you're scared, you need to say you're scared. And stop playing with bingo balls, because what's happening now is that people are bastardizing this moment. This is a window, and we pushed this all the way through 2015, 16, and now we'll be 10 years in fighting other Negroes who just want to get their little grift on. That's not how this works. This wealth is coming. This wealth is about to be inherited. Now, the greatest wealth transfer in the history of America. And if we don't get it together, and there's a reason why these two things come together. This is the perfect time to make the case. We got the biggest wealth transfer in the history of America coming down the pipe, and we talk about reparations, so let's get our wealth transfer. But you can't have it if the people in power and the people who are doing advocacy jump in front and try to talk in ways that don't make sense. They playing. You either playing or you half crazy. Listen, I can't know which one. I don't pretend to know. I don't know. How can you be in a country? How can you not afford the cost in the country that you built? Because you don't got nobody to listen. You don't have nobody. And how in the world do we have people still going around? I remember that time Boyce Watkins wrote the book, What I Learned from My Grandmama. And I saw somebody else, we were talking about it on Monday's show, I learned, I just got to do what Grandpappy and them did. This ain't Grandpappy's and them era. And even then, they died early, didn't get enough food, didn't have no wealth, didn't have teeth. Or what, a lot of stuff happened to them. Like, stop romanticizing what they went through. Stop romanticizing what sharecroppers went through and what people. I remember he used to get outside and he never got enough food. Neither did his wife. Babies died after the. There's a good book about after the slaves were free. How many of them just died because you weren't cattle anymore? You weren't a commodity, and white people were happy to just let you starve or die of disease, all kind of stuff. So stop romanticizing everything that people did because they needed to live and needed to survive. Yes, and they weren't living below their means. They didn't have means. If you look at what the average ADOS person makes, and you're talking about $30-something thousand, you can't live below that. Life costs more than that. You can't live below that. It's time out for all this bad advice. Allowing incompetent people, grifters, everybody gets to be a part of this space. Everybody gets to have a vote. Everybody gets to have a conversation. Everybody gets to have an opinion. You don't have a right to an uninformed opinion. You just don't. You don't have a right to elevate a grifter. You just don't. I'm just saying. You got to stop revering people whose politics is against you. Why? I mean, why would you revere this person? Y'all don't have the same politics. Y'all don't have the same needs. Economically, this is an enemy to you because this person does not need the same things you need. They're never going to advocate what you advocate for. They're tools of social engineering. These are tools that the power that be used to convince you that you have no need for reparations, that you have no need for an inheritance. They will put him in a picture or allowed him to be photographed. Listen, he will be photographed and happily photographed with somebody who's worth $117 billion because that leads you to believe if this man from Marshall Projects is with a billionaire, they must be close to worth the same amount of money, and he did it, I can do it too. That's just not the way America works. Money is passed down. These aberrations are there for a reason. I'm even tired of lyrics that say dumb stuff. You are not Bill Gates in the making. I'm so sorry. We just have to start. And let me just, as I go out, the only thing I just want to ask a question. How long is everybody prepared to be the shoes? I mean, America put us on the shoes and built the country, and then how long are we gonna be the shoes? Because if I was brown or white American, I looked in at from the outside at what I thought was the reparations movement, not ADOS, but the rest of this stupid stuff going around, I would say that these people half crazy. What are they even talking about? So they got one old man wearing shells and a little hat, and then they got this other man who was in a Michael Moore film and has did like 15 GoFundMes and just runs around and says all kind of offensive stuff, and then they got this other man, what we call him Bruiser, who done punched on somebody, and he be at every reparations hearing, and I would be too through. What does that messaging look like? Then they have a whole fight at the California reparations thing. The same grifter come, and then somebody get mad at him because he called him out on his show. And what is his show? And he's being held softly by his police he brought with him. What is this? Listen, I'm gonna go to the phones, but everybody better figure out what they want to do. I'm going to provide, and the ADOS Foundation is going to provide a vehicle to do something different. Moments don't last forever. And that's all I say about it. We'll go to the phones. Please take a moment to hit that like button. Give me a minute to set up the phones as usual. I will be back, and if you want to have a conversation, and we can talk about it. If not, either way, all good, fam. All right, fam, we are back. So let me go to my first caller. Let me go to 530 530. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what's on your mind? I hate the way that thing does that. Hold on, 530. Whew. This thing is doing something funky. Hold on 1 second. Let me see if we still got them on the line. Hold on 1 second, fam. Let me see if we can get them in here. I tell you, sometimes these computers, they just be acting. I think they hung up. So let me go to 310. 310. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what is on your mind?
Yes, hi, Yvette. My name is Trey. I'm calling from San Diego. Thank you for taking my call.
Hey, Trey.
I've heard a lot of the... Thank you. First and foremost, I want to say I appreciate the intellectual debate that you and Tone have brought to this All Things Black, because so much of our conversation is often emotional. There's not a lot of empirical data behind it, and you've done a lot to elevate the conversation. But there's one area I have to disagree. I do not believe that the decisions by the California governor were made because of Tariq Nasheed. They were never going to do this. This was all a grift from the beginning. And I will remember when they first came out, they mentioned how they were going to wait till next year to release any type of distribution, because it's all based on just keeping us on the Democratic plantation. It has nothing to do with one of the things that I have, and I would like to know your opinion. I have a problem with some of these reparations commissions for one reason only. Number one, not enough ABAs on... Jews do not sit on the panel of anything Holocaust related. That bothers me, number one. And secondly, why aren't we having these in Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana?
I agree.
It's all in states where never existed. And I think that's a part of the plan. You do it in states that slavery never existed, knowing full well, if we got to the point of the distribution of any resource, Hispanics, Asians, all non-black immigrants are going to sue immediately using the 14th Amendment to do such, as they've done in many other cases.
I would.
They've done it. It happened. I don't know if you recall in Oregon. In Oregon, they passed a little reparations bill, and almost the day they passed it, the next day, Asians and Hispanics formed an alliance and sued and got it struck down. And they cited the 14th Amendment, which, if you go on the letter of the law, it is illegal to give direct resources to only one group, even though they've always used it against us. So,
I think my pushback to that would be you can obviously do lineage and not race, because Native Americans get to do lineage, right? When they say they're giving free college, when the University of California systems say they're giving free college to Native Americans, that's a lineage-based system. It's not a racially based system. So I think they didn't say all Asians. They just said Native Americans. So I think there's a door open for lineage that is not open for race. But to your point about whether or not this was something that was caused by how it was handled, whether Tariq or whoever, I offered up on Twitter a while ago. I said there were 3 different options, and one of them was they were never going to do it, right? So it's one of these 3 things, but this is how I operate. I believe if you do something, you do it right, right? It's not your fault that you have to be close to perfect in terms of, and I know we're human and when we err, but some people just have to be left out of, because even if it doesn't work in California, you want to do such a good job and you want to have such good news in terms of how you're covered in America, that what you want to do is to be able to use what happens in California to leverage it against the federal government, which means you have to be on point 100% of the way, right? Even in terms of how you have to walk away, because you might have to walk away because of how the governor is behaving and because of how the governor is acting. You might have to use that, but you have to be willing to do that and say, this is not reparations, and this is why, and this is what we're going to do, and this is where we're going to take it. Now, to your other point, I do believe, I call the states that you're talking about the plantation states, right? And I do believe that it has to, if you're going to do, I'm not a big fan of local reparations. I've said that before. But if you're going to do that, you have to take it somewhere where it's clean, right? And the cleanest place where it's very clear, white versus ADOS, this is what happened, this is how it's happened, and this population still reflects that, is in southern states, plantation states. So yes, I agree that if you're going to do it, I was seeing somewhere that blacks are less than 5% in California, and then the amount of ADOS is even less than that. How do you navigate in that space? Well, you have to navigate with a lot of nuance, and if you have to make it to where even if you lose, you win. Right, that's the politics of the moment. So I do agree that if you're going to do it in a way that makes sense and draws the necessary contrast that you need to make in terms of how you leverage the federal government and what you do in terms of that state, it would be much better to use a plantation state than to use California. California is just a wreck, as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly. I live here, and like I say, we're not, ADOS is being submerged by, I hate to use the word tether class, but I think everybody knows what I
hate that. Yeah, I hate that word. I hate that word. I hate that word because it's an insult.
Before I go, I'd like to know your opinion on this. I'm a firm believer that we should just file a case with the United Nations, crimes against humanity. It's clearly definable. We don't even have to go off slavery. We could go off.
But what are you going to do? Let me stop you right there. The United Nations has no power to do anything against America. Even I hear people talk about, well, America's not as strong as it used to be. So what? It's still strong enough to resist anything that the United Nations. The United Nations came here and toured Alabama and said Alabama was third world conditions. What? So what? The United Nations is never going to be in a position, not in my lifetime or your lifetime, unless there's some type of fall of America that I can't imagine. It would have to come from a war or something to push America to do anything.
Okay, then with that being said, then our only option outside of that to put that external pressures that the Japanese did, the Jews did to get their reparations is we're going to have to form alliances with Africans and make those 50-some African countries.
Listen, what can they do? I think listen, I don't think people understand that there was no Asian pressure, right? People there is a benefit to having a homeland. But at that point, if you listen to John Tatashi, the Chinese and the Japanese had tensions and all kind of stuff was going on. They were able, though, to leverage politicians inside this country. See, I don't understand why we don't take the fight to politicians in this country. We've never done that. I mean, in modern history. I'm not talking about when you go way back. I'm not talking about that because that did happen back in the day, and we had some wins there actually. We haven't even I feel like people are scared. Right? Why? What is the problem with taking the fight? People vote. We can listen. We've had a Democratic. When Obama was elected, we had a black president. We had a Democratic Congress, and nobody took the fight to reparations for them. And so, what is the problem
with that?
Black
Attorney General.
Yeah. So why? I just don't understand. Like you're saying, Cobra.
I completely agree with you on that. But if I had to add a caveat though. Japan did put pressure the nation because it was a constant thorn at a time when Japan was the number 2 economy in the world.
No, I'm not saying Japan. I'm just saying Asia. Yeah, I know Japan. That's why I said there's always a benefit to having a homeland. There is a benefit to even when the Indian man, he got beat up by the police, and India put pressure on America. We don't have a homeland though. Like, see, the thing is, we want to believe that Africans somehow have an affinity in terms of African countries. I'm not even talking about black immigrants in this country have some type of affinity for us or could ever apply pressure to America. They can't. Like, it's not even like we come from like a country that has a lot of power. So like we come from a country that has a lot of power and that country can apply pressure to America. There is no African nation that will not get laughed out of the room if they try to come in and say, I want to apply pressure to America to do right by ADOS. That would not happen. So you have to. We only have one choice. And the only choice we have is to hold the politicians accountable in this country. Other choices do not exist except for the imagination.
Yes, I agree. But I think that we're in a dilemma in holding them accountable because too many of our people are so beholden to the Democrats. You see the flood that they're doing. They're flooding our neighborhoods with immigrants. I live here in San Diego now. Been here for 4 years.
Hold on one second. Hold on one second.
Advocating for them to vote in our districts.
This is double-minded, right? You're going to have to deal with Democrats because regardless of how you vote as an individual, most ADOS vote for the Democratic Party, right? I don't like the word tether. I don't like the word plantation because nobody would ever say that about Jewish America. Nobody would ever say you stuck on the gas chamber. I hate that. Like, even if you believe that we're voting for the wrong party or the party has taken us for granted, I don't like that language. I think it's offensive. Second of all, that's how we vote. So you have to deal with them. You can't say, well, we just not gonna deal with Democrats because the Democrats do whatever. You have to leverage that. You have to force them to do something different. I think we think that the solution to things is walking away instead of fighting. And sometimes, especially regardless of how you as an individual fight, nearly all of your politics is in the Democratic Party. You have to deal with that party. It's easy to say, I talk about everything bad the Democratic Party does all the time. I talk about all the problems I have. Still got to deal with them. Because, and we should have leverage in dealing with them because our people get them elected. And so that's just where I am with it.
But we don't know. So how do we push her? I'll land my plane there, and I do appreciate once again what you've done to bring an intellectual conversation to this discussion. But if you could, and I'll land my plane there, what can we do specifically to put the pressure on the Democrats who, to me, it's just obvious all they're doing is stalling. They're going to flood this country so much so they change the national discussion where blacks will just be an afterthought. Well, and I see it, and it's happening right in our face.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll answer you offline. Listen, I feel like, I feel like all Democrats are doing is stalling, and all we're doing is talking, right? Like, people respond to movements. Politicians respond to pressure. Politicians respond to movements. They don't respond to your mouth moving, right? And so it's just, I can get on YouTube, and everybody else can get on YouTube all the time. We can talk, right? And it's great for political awareness. I think we did great in terms of giving political education, but it does not move the needle in terms of, and that's what I realized. Listen, this is great political education, but there has to be a vehicle. Try to let people do it themselves, and some people did it great, and some people did it awful. So you realize you have to have a foundation. So people will ask me, what's the solution? When we just did the solution. Like, the solution is the foundation. The solution is the movement. The solution is for you to be at the chapter information session. That's the solution. Stop looking for solutions in Africa. Stop looking for solutions in stuff that don't make sense. That's the solution. 562, I'm coming to you.
Yes, ma'am. How you doing today, sister?
Good. How about you?
All right. I appreciate you. I appreciate all that you do. But I do have to disagree. I'm California also, and it's rough out here. And it's a floodgate, and it's open. And, they're getting reparations. While we're talking about it, these other groups are getting the reparations. So I don't know if we could just sit by idly and just hope and pray and keep going with what we've been going with, because it's not producing.
Who is sitting
look
down?
At the numbers and look at everything.
Like, let me ask you a question. Who is sitting by? Who is sitting by idly? Who are you talking about specifically?
I'm just saying, if you're not from California, you're in Georgia, so it's a whole nother picture.
No, who is sitting by? No, just tell me who is sitting by idly. I just want to know who it is. I'm not talking about who's where. I know where I am. I know what you told me.
We're doing a lot of talking, but we're not. You say that we shouldn't.
Who is
take
we?
it out on the Democrats. We should. Ma'am, you just spoke to the gentleman before me. You said that.
So you're talking about him?
Democrats. We have to go with them because of this and because of that.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. That's not what I said.
Over here is
no, you have a. Hold on one second. You have a listening problem. I didn't say we should go with the Democrats. I think there's some type of disability going on. I didn't say, nobody ever said that. I never said that we should go and vote with the Democrats. What I'm telling you, when you elect people, you don't, as an individual, you don't matter. I don't matter. We have people as a party who are electing Democratic presidents. When Obama was in office, we turned red states blue. When you do that, you have to get something away from it. You have to get an exchange from that. You can't turn red states blue for a president. You can't give Warnock the Senate and not get anything in exchange. So the question isn't, are we going to get all of these people?
That's why I said you're going by Georgia. You're talking about Georgia.
I'm not talking
about California.
I'm talking about the country. I just said Obama. I'm talking about the whole country. I'm not talking about Georgia.
And I'm seeing it. And like I said, the guy over here in South Carolina, North Carolina, I forget which one, but the head guy, he said, the hell with it, you're not getting nothing. You're never going to get it. So, I mean, how can you support that?
I don't know what I support.
When the head, excuse me?
I don't know. What are you saying I support?
I didn't say you. I'm just saying, I'm not coming against you. I love you. I follow you, through thick and thin. I think you're the cream of the crop. But I'm just telling you is that we have to come up with something different than just saying go one way or this way or libertarian or this or that, because these people are eating us alive. They're coming over. Here's no reparations.
But here's the problem.
Reparations over here.
Here's the problem.
They can be law enforcement. They can be teachers. No background.
But here's the problem, fam. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. I never said we should go.
Look at the border, baby.
I never said we should go one way or the other. I said when you vote, you have to get something from it. I think there really is like an impediment to understanding what I'm saying.
Anything.
Yeah, but you have to. Yeah, but you have to. You can't. See, you can't leave a party where you're not getting anything, and you're not gonna get all those people to leave anyway. So you're just talking crazy. If you think, hold on. Wait a minute. If you think you're gonna.
What did we do with the last election? 90-something%. We did 90-something%.
What's your solution? You're gonna vote Republican? I'm just asking.
Hey, I'm just the chief. I'm not the chief. I'm just the.
But I'm asking. No, you obviously.
I'm not here. I'm here to support you and.
No. You're not supporting me. I'm asking you. I'm asking you a question. If you're a chief. But
I'm telling you that we can't keep going down the same route that we're going.
You gotta let me talk. So I muted him for a second. You gotta let me finish what I'm saying. You gotta let me talk. My question to you, though, you said you're not the chief. But if you are, if you are the chief and somebody comes to you, like aliens drop out the sky and they say, what should we do? Do you want us to vote Republican? Do you want us to get in the street? What do you want us to do? And your answer is go.
I would, don't put me on the spot like that. Miss Cornell, I love you, I respect you. I'm going to respectfully just let it go as what it is, but I'm telling you what I'm seeing firsthand out here. I'm living it. It's every day. It's nothing,
It's everything and it's
really
nothing.
To do about it because nobody's listening to us, and we can vote our brains out Nothing's
Yeah.
changed. 50
Well,
years.
listen, I appreciate
We've
your
been
call.
voting and we've been.
I appreciate your call, but I appreciate your call, fam, and I love the support, but you're not saying anything. Like, and that becomes part of the problem. Only thing you're saying is that we can't do the same thing we've been doing. Well, the whole point of creating a movement is for you not to be doing the same thing that you've been doing. The whole point of creating a movement is to apply pressure to people to do exactly what you say. The whole point is to put a mechanism in place where you can have exchange for your vote. But what I'm telling people is that you are not going to get everybody who votes Democrat to come vote Republican. They're not going to do it. And I wouldn't say it's whether or not they should or not. So if you vote Republican, yes, you get better immigration policy. But then you get a lot of stuff that's not good. You get tax policy that robs a bunch of resources. You vote Democrat, okay, you get a little bit more resources, but you get a bunch of benign neglect, and they give a bunch of money to a whole bunch of people that ain't you. So, like, these are both bad choices. And so what we have to do with two bad choices is say, hey, I have a list of stuff that I need done. And that's what Democratic down ballot was about last time. I didn't vote for Biden. I didn't vote for Trump. Right? Neither one of you have earned my vote. And, like, listen, if Biden doesn't make it because of us, you did it to yourself because you really didn't play into our agenda, right? You didn't really talk to us and discuss. You told us we just got to deal with the Latinos even when you got there. So, yeah, it's not, you have to put a mechanism to pressure people, but you just can't call in to me and say, well, we just got to do something different. I don't know. Don't put no pressure on me. What is that different thing? I think he wanted to say vote Republican, but he didn't want to say it. Whatever. I don't know what he wanted to say because the child wouldn't talk. 360, what's going on? I'm coming to you. Oh, hold on one second. No, 360. Hold on one second. Let me go to somebody else real quickly because I think I have some. I'm trying to get all the California callers in first. 310. What's going on?
What up?
What's up?
What up, man? It's Tone Talk.
What's up, Antonio?
So, I listened to the last two callers, and there's a severe comprehension issue here. One of the things that's happening is, I'm going to ask you a question. Are you a nuclear scientist?
No.
If a nuclear scientist came in and talked to you about nuclear fusion or something, would you just listen, or would you listen and try to have a discussion as if you were a nuclear scientist?
I don't know how to talk about nuclear science, so I think I just listen.
Well, that's what we just ran into. They don't understand what they don't know. Look, AB 3121 came out of these two shows. It just did, in large part, let me say. So nobody was going to, if me and Yvette weren't alive, nobody would be talking about reparations on the national level right now, period. Mm-hmm. Because what happened was, you can go back to two articles. 2013, I do Rise of Legacy. 2011, she does the Obama African-American piece, both in the HuffPost. It didn't come from just those two articles. But those represent a place that nobody else was at. You guys are still talking about Africa like a continent. You guys are still, hold on, the guy earlier, the first caller, he was talking about immigrants, and he said blacks are an afterthought. Well, there are black immigrants, so you don't even know your argument. Part of what we're dealing with is that many of you are not fully formed in your ability to assess your limitations. Not just in your adulthood, but your limitations. I wasn't even calling, initially I was going to call about the wealth, but there's a problem here. So what you do is then dismiss the other person while saying you're elevating. Hold on. So they tell you, Yvette, I praise you, but then say, I don't know the answer, but then say, I'm going to give you the answer, and the shit don't make no sense. Excuse my language.
Diddy didn't even say it. He said, I'm going to give you the answer, but he didn't say nothing.
we have the first guy using, and it starts with, you guys are listening to high school dropouts and then listening to me. Don't listen to me no more if you want to listen to that. You're not going to understand. You can't mix the two concepts. You guys are listening to high school dropouts and then trying to understand what I'm talking about, and they don't go together. Unless the high school dropout is like a real farmer, or like he started a union for farmers or something like that. Don't talk to me about no high school dropouts no more and mixing their concepts with this, because it's poison for this project. And what happens is it's actually poison for your mind, because you use words and concepts that don't go together. So you like the first caller was saying things that are factually inaccurate, but he was saying them with certainty. He said they can't give none to a specific group. Well, the Supreme Court still is actually debating and talking about that right now. Did you read the Supreme Court hearing over the affirmative action, or you just made that up? Mm-hmm. Well, if you listen to high school dropouts, that's how they talk. They make stuff up. So you've been listening so long to that you think that's how you communicate, but you're talking to the nuclear scientists of black politics right now. So all you can do is listen. But then when I give you the answer that we are not at a place in human science where we can use nuclear power to create power for cities, you tell me, just bring me the nuclear bomb, I'll do it myself. I think that we have a problem with comprehension here. You guys are mixing me with low-level stuff that don't make no sense. I'm not Charlemagne. I'm not several of these other people that you listen to. What I will tell you is that I told you in 2013 that the rise of legacy was coming. What I tell you is that Yvette told you in 2011 that Obama was not what? African American, which was Adolf. And what I tell you too is that they set the cap at $13 million for what you can transfer, because you're not supposed to have no baby if you're not going to leave them $1,400,000 in this America. You have failed them. Maybe we haven't made that clear. Let's make it clearer than saying government and reparations, since you want to talk about who you are and what you're going to do for people. Everybody's talking about California. Going to try to dismiss her. It was all about dismissing you. Let's just talk about what it was.
Yeah. Well, you enjoy it. Well, you enjoy it.
I'm from the other part of California. Hold on, let me just say something. I'm from the California that these people ain't even from. I know from what I just heard. First of all, I went to UCLA. I know that you didn't go to UCLA. Second of all, I just came from Tijuana yesterday. I know y'all wasn't at Tijuana, so you don't know exactly about that, like you're talking about. Literally, I was in Tijuana yesterday. So, UCLA, Tijuana. I did a documentary on Freeway Rick Ross. That's the bottom of the ghetto. So we got these people that did try to traffic on. They from the Cali. They from LA. You're not from that part. What you are is the video game guy. Now, we need the video game guy to support us, but I need him to be silent in movement. I can't have you say that you're small and talk real big, because you get in the way. And all of those first two calls could have been people coming in with productive discussions. Because right now, y'all ain't got enough for them kids. If you ain't got $200,000, $300,000 to leave to your kids, you have failed it. And I'm not just saying you have failed them, your grandmama failed it. Because that was the moment, and ain't no money here. So reparations, let's put that to the side. Do you have the money or not? Since you want to be big man and call, Yvette show and make her feel like because she ain't in California, she don't know what she talking about. I'm just saying to y'all, I did this Rise of Legacy, you can read it. What we know is that in America, they have created a system where they don't need the Ku Klux Klan no more. It's in the money. And now what you guys are trying to do is talk yourself into your own ego. Go talk to a high school dropout if you want to do that. All right.
Whew, thank you, Tom. Appreciate you. And I just feel like, people just want to argue with me, and it's just like and you're right. Like, well, you're not in Georgia. I'm not gonna tell you. I did a whole thing about nationally. I talked about Obama. I wasn't talking about Georgia. But what I said about Georgia is that when you flip states and you change the Senate, I don't know whether he knows that. The Senate, we talk about the people in the Senate. You talk about 2 from each state. They decide national policy. So if you do that, that has a national impact. It's not just about Georgia. So it just becomes like utterly ridiculous. 530-530. I'm coming to you. Thanks, Tom, for calling in. What's going on?
Can you hear me?
Yep. What's going on? How you doing?
Yeah, it's North. I'm in California too, as you well know.
Good.
So before I get to this email that I want to read to you, I want to just because Mr. Antonio did so very well. I'm gonna get clapping and hollering at the same time. And thank you as well, Yvette, for skinning that mofo alive. I'm not gonna curse. Now, the next thing I want to say, those previous callers that you just dealt with, this is just one of the reasons why my blood pressure is high. This is just one of the reasons why I stopped talking to folks in California, because they're literally doing what Antonio just said they do. That you all saw these people do. That's what I kept seeing all 21. You understand what I'm saying? All 22. I couldn't do it no more. I just couldn't do it. Going up against that type of nonsense. The next thing is we'll get to this email. I got the email in 21, and I believe it was Dap on Twitter who brought it up again. Because I guess the LA City local government, this is local government doing this mess,
that they're back now in 23 doing this mess. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, as I go through this email, because Lord, let me change that. People who know better, who are cognizant, who have comprehension skills, please reach out to LA City. So the email is repair.lacity.org. Now, LA City is doing something called repair zones, right? And the repair zones, because again, I want everybody to understand, especially those those slow mofos who had the nerve to call into this show, talking down to Yvette like she don't know nothing. Really? That's what we're doing today? So, what these people have, what LA City has done is, if you think that these municipalities, cities, towns, that they're not listening to Tone and Yvette, because they're thought leaders. Let's get that straight. If you think they're not listening, LA City sat up here, right, and doing this little low-level wannabe reparations, calling it repair zones. And the areas that they're addressing are Arleta and Pacoima, California, Westlake, West Adams, Baldwin Village, Leimert Park, Skid Row. I done called in so many times about Skid Row, just all of the other depressed areas, but one of the most depressed areas is Skid Row. Okay, you got Southern Los Angeles, right? I'm in Southern Los Angeles. I'm in Watts. Okay. Mm-hmm. Next part of in the city where they're doing this at is Harbor Gateway, Wilmington, Harbor City. Now, because I'm looking at the application. Because I had the misfortune of sitting with local government and talking to. They wasn't expecting for me to sneak through, right? And what they're doing is, again, like I said, low level so-called reparations. Because guess who they listen to? Tone and Yvette. I'm gonna say that again. Tone and Yvette. Now, this advisory board is going to be meeting over Zoom. If I'm not mistaken, they did it Thursday. 2 years ago in 21. They're doing it again Thursday in 23 at 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. So what they want to go through and what they call themselves addressing is they want to have people who speak Spanish, you understand Spanish, all these other things like that. Because again, what they're doing is they're using our poverty story, yet addressing everyone else. They're not addressing us. So they want people who speak Spanish, because that's mainly what's in California, just so you guys know. And I think I'll just conclude right there. I don't want to take too long. Okay, but this is what they're doing. They're addressing immigrant communities, if you speak proficient Spanish, things of this nature.
Yep, and thank you, North. I appreciate that. And the thing about it is, like, that's the thing that you have to have movement for. Like, people are like, well, I don't know what we're going to do. They're taking over. Well, you got to get to the answer of, okay, what do you do about that? What do you do about the fact that's not something that you appreciate, that you want resources to come to your community? It's movement work. You can't talk to somebody who is invested in movement work and then ask them what to do when they've already told you that the solution is movement work. So thank you, North. I appreciate that. I'm going now to 818. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, my name's P, and I'm calling from Los Angeles, California. I called in, I think it was pre-COVID, so I appreciate that you've been around and you've been sparking conversation with Tone. I've been listening to, I think I've been able to listen to all of the callers, and of course I know the ongoing topic. Sitting here in Los Angeles, I'd like to first say that I think it's very important for our community not to be divisive. If we are having open conversation, I think it should be free to every single person on the class spectrum, okay? Because I don't think there's a lot of us. Last time I looked at America statistically, I think that's part of our problem, is that we just don't have the numbers. Okay, I think it comes down to basic math, not skill set necessarily. I think we're going to need everybody involved. So those first two callers, I certainly did not perceive them as the pushback that maybe Tone was perceiving, that pushback. I think that they were asking a lot of questions, and they're confused. You know, sitting here in Los Angeles and you know, getting the choices that I'm being handed on the ballot are, you know, challenging, and I'm doing the best I can with local initiatives. I vote every time. I don't necessarily vote, like you said, up ballot, but I vote down ballot. I definitely vote on the initiative. There is some confusion going on in LA and California about what direction we're going in. But I do feel like, hey, at least we've got this committee. We're headed in a direction of communication. You guys, just as Tone has indicated, have started a conversation about reparations that has been going on for years, and now at least it's taken on a national tone. Okay, so we may be moving in the right direction, but there are a lot of spinning wheels here. And I don't think that we need to start name calling and who has a college education, who has a PhD, who is in the trades, or who has opened up a welding shop. I think we're all in this together, darling.
Well, let me offer you a little pushback. Let me offer you a little pushback. So, because this is a conversation, right? I think I did that. What you're talking about in 2015, 16, I did that. And I thought that, well, some people may just not know. Give them time, they'll learn, allow them to ask their questions. 7 years later, they haven't learned anything. They're asking the same questions. And a lot of the questions that they ask are just Antonio's right. It was just intended to undermine me. Like when you say, well, you're not here in California, that's not the issue. I access information. And my very good friend, who I talk to all the time, who co-founded this movement, is in California. So I don't believe they're 7 years into this. I do not believe there's any benefit to just having a conversation. And I do not believe that there's any benefit to calling in here and talking to people who are building a movement and saying, you know, I don't know, this just ain't gonna work. And then when I ask you, well, what do you think? And you don't have any ideas to bring to bear. I think people have to be held accountable for what they don't know and what they don't do. And I did not say that.
I'm a strong believer in that concept. It is what you don't know that you don't know that's going to get you. Of course, I get that concept, and I understand the nuance that many people do not. But what I'm trying to say is, I don't think that we should be beating up the people who don't. I think that we should be leading them in the direction. You who have this platform, you're leading this platform, and that maybe is what you can do. But the reality, if I can just say one more thing, the reality is, my dear, is that you have a call-in show that is free format, and that is about conversation. It's not about.
And we had the conversation.
You're not statistically, you know, spewing out numbers every night to inform that way. You're opening.
We did that already.
Your phone line to people.
We did that already, though. Like we don't like. The thing is, if we have a conversation, sometimes that's going to be a robust conversation. And I'm not in the business of I might not be as rough as Antonio, but I'm not in the business of coddling anybody anymore. Everybody's grown. You grown, they grown. Everybody has a responsibility. We did the whole show. Antonio spent years just talking about numbers. So now the expectation is that you know the numbers. Like, it's not a call-in show that started yesterday. Like, you should know what your responsibility is in terms of know stuff. There's no reason why you should call into here as somebody who says that they support this show. I even would have had a different reaction if he said, this is my first time seeing you. Or I never seen you last week. Or I haven't seen you before. You know enough to know that if you call up with that, I'm going to ask you, okay, what do you think? And you shouldn't call up here like we are informed people without having some kind of opinion. You had the other gentleman who said they're a tether class. Okay, tether is an insult. But then you say they're a tether class, but we got to go to Africa. You just insulted them and said we got to go over there. This is inconsistent thinking, and that is my problem. And so part of the reason you're looking at a microcosm as to why the reparations movement has not gone further. right? The reparations movement hasn't gone further because you have all of these people that are always talking, always asking questions, and then won't show up to bust a grape at a food fight. That is a problem. Won't show up at the bookstore. Won't order it from Amazon or wherever else. That is a problem. That is our problem. And it's not just, hey, I started out believing you. If you just give people information and you lead them, and we do have people like that. We have people who will tell you, hey, I started listening to you now. I read all the books. I got all the information. You see them fighting on Twitter. It's still too many people who just love to talk and don't want to act.
Okay, and I hear you. I do believe that Noam Chomsky spoke to this exact situation way back in his book Manufacturers Consent. You have a concept of the masses, and a lot of people get in that group get their information from mass media. So when you hear these talking points that you're talking about are pejorative I'm sorry, I'm probably pronouncing that word wrong, but that are, what did you call it, insightful and derogatory, then it's probably because that's what they're picking up from all of these other talking heads as talking points. So I get that. So I want to go past where we're at in this part of the conversation, and if it's okay to ask you, if you were dropped down from, or an alien came down and said, hey, what do you want? What would you want as kind of a leader in this?
I've already told you what I want. I told you what I want based on what I'm doing. My actions tell you what I want. My actions tell you that I think the solution is a movement. You don't have to ask me. I've done it. I'm doing it right now. There's no need for that question. You see what I mean?
How do you see that movement actually developing? I mean, what can
you gotta land your plane. We have a full
on a grassroots level.
You gotta give me your last thought. We can't have a full conversation because I have other people on the line. You gotta land your plane.
Mm-hmm. So I'm asking you, what can we do? Like, for example, you're answering people from California specifically. So that's what I'm speaking of right now in California. Is what can we do with Californians when we have our elected officials? We are calling. I personally am calling. I'm getting no response from elected officials. Do we walk over? Do we have a 1,000 lawsuit march? What do we do?
I think you should join the ADOS movement when chapters launch, and you should activate your local chapter in California to do something about it. And I think you should be a part of the strategy sessions and the tactical sessions that we have when we have the conversation about it. But I also think you should understand too, and the earlier caller was right about one thing. I think plantation states are more important in terms of what we're doing for ADOS, just in terms of demographics and numbers. So I wouldn't prioritize California in terms of the movement, just because of how few of you there are.
I totally understand. You're in Georgia. I'm in California. The plantation state people are in plantation states. I can do what I can in California. I don't know if I have any more leverage in a plantation state than I have in my own state. So I will try to do what I can here. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. If y'all want to, let me just say what I think. I'm going to the next call. I think we have a problem with contrarianism. That's my God's on it. I think people just want to be contrarians for the sake of being contrarian. I think people don't want to find agreement. Like it's just you in the plantation state. No, I'm not. I'm not saying that because of where I am. I could be anywhere right now. What I'm saying is I agree with the other gentleman in terms of one of the things he said in terms of the percentage of ADOS people in those states. Right? That's what I will focus on. And so it's not about me being here. I don't have any kind of preference. I have preference based on data and what the data tells me about the people who are there. Now, people aren't necessarily leveraged, but given what I've seen about California, I don't know if that's why I would start. Right? Oh, all right. Going to my next caller. 617, what's going on?
Hey, it's Reggie from Boston. Thank you for taking my call.
What's going on? How you doing?
Listen, I just want to say I appreciate you and I appreciate Tone. And just long story short, I really agree with kind of the stance that you're taking in the show with the calls, because it's been years. Like if you go all the way back to, your first work and Antonio's first work, specifically Obama's Achilles heel, we've been doing this for a decade. The shows are there. The Breaking Brown Good Reads is there. At some point, in the way that you've been doing, which I believe is correct, you have to stop suffering fools. Like, go find the books. And if you can't afford the books, we're a wealthless group. I don't have all the books. My bookshelf is mean, but I have limitations because I'm ADOS. But all of the shows are there. Tone Talks, all of the shows are there. All of Breaking Brown shows are there. Go there and just do the intellectual work. And to Tone's point earlier, just this nonsense of going back and forth with, high school dropouts or people that have high school education, that's my limitation that I recognize. I don't have a degree.
Mm-hmm.
I burnt out and slept through college and woke up a college debt. Like, all I have to my name, Reggie from Boston, that everybody, not everybody, but, that so many people are like, oh, he knows his stuff. High school diploma, that's it. The difference is that I dedicated myself to political maturity and to political education. I looked at the shows. I looked at the sources cited. Like, if you go through all of Yvette's shows, Antonio's shows, like, they cite the data that you can look up. They cite the works. Just go look up the works. Take time out of your day and read, because you take time out of your day to look at the foundational Black housewives that Tariq is doing. You go to look at his juke joint. You go to look at, to call people tethers. You want to go project your lives through Jay and Beyonce or Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle and have all of these stupid conversations. But you can take that time, because you can manage time. You don't have wealth, so stop pretending you have wealth, but you do have time to decide what you are going to consume, what you're going to take in, and how you're going to educate yourself. It's just time to grow up and be politically mature. And one thing why I really called in that is what you said earlier struck me, that people have to get honest about what is your politics. Like, I don't hold anybody to the two-party binary, but I want to know what your politics is. If you feel like, what is government's role, to Yvette's point, if you feel it's limited government, big government, no government, regardless of where you land on the political spectrum, because you are ADOS, you have an obligation when you talk to me or anybody else in this space. You have to tie your political philosophy to how that fixes our common accrued disadvantage by way of chattel slavery.
Yeah.
Like, said differently, if you are a Republican or Libertarian and you say small government, you have to go from slavery. You have to draw a line and show me, okay, if government was in the way, you have to go from slavery up until now. Show me how government got in my way. Not in the way of the white capitalist that you aspire to be. We advocate from our reality, not from our aspirations, and that's a lot of the problems that I have with conservatives. But if you're going to take that route, show me where government got in the way, and then you have to show me your plan for advocacy to reverse that. Because regardless of whether you want government to get out of the way or whether you want government to expand, you have to engage government. And the problem that I have with these conversations is that we're going to walk away from government. We're going to walk away from the Democratic Party that we built and the party in which we have leverage. It's a lazy, uneducated argument. And I'm tired of suffering fools. You're going to see that, and I'm just telling you, I'm not even speaking for you, that we haven't even had the conversation, but I can already tell you, when these chapters come out, this nonsense that y'all talking is not going to fly in the spaces that ADOS controls.
And Reggie, let me ask you a question. How many times
come through these chapters are going to be dedicated and trained
with a certain type of political education and a grasp on the data nationally, statewide, and locally. And if you're not coming with that dedication to understanding the data and how it affects your life, you're going to be out of here.
Thank you, Reggie. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rebecca.
And let me just say something. You would never know. You would never know that Reggie didn't go to college because he accesses information. Like he doesn't just I have never heard Reggie Collins just make an uninformed call. I have never heard him say something that doesn't make sense. Like even if we hadn't agreed 100% of the time, he's never going to call in and say, after we've said since 7 years, let's just go to the UN. Let's just go to Africa. You just insulted Africans. You just insulted Black immigrants. What are you talking about? Go to Africa. You called them a tether class, and you just said, well, we got to go to Africa. Like, it's just, I don't even understand. Well, I know you do that. Let's go to the next caller. There's a need to just be contrarian. There seems to me a need to just be contrarian and just, and like I can't tell Reggie didn't graduate college. I can tell that the dude who does hookah joints didn't. Like, so I don't, just because somebody has their elocution down and they talk like this, that's not, you can still say something crazy. Or say stuff that doesn't make sense. And so what Antonio is saying, you go over there and you listen to stuff that don't make any sense. And then you come over here and you say stuff that don't make any sense. And then we call you out for saying stuff that doesn't make any sense. Because you went over there and you say, oh my God, why are you being disagreeable? No, you weren't disagreeable when you called into that show with that stupid stuff. But anyway, let me go to the next caller. I'm going to 702. 702, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, good evening, Yvette.
Hey.
Charlie about it.
What's going on?
Yeah, that cheer is hard, ain't it? That chair you sitting in is hard. It's rough, man. I feel for you. I pray for you. I love you. But I know that cheer is hard, man. But this is part of the battle. It's unfortunate, but this is where we're at. Mm-hmm. This is where we were placed. This is where you were placed. You're gonna have to deal with this. I agree with the last caller. I totally agree with that. You're gonna have to push off some of this and not try to be, because you're being very understanding. You're being very polite and understanding. You're gonna have to start cutting people off a little quicker than that because it's not worth the effort. You can't let it weigh you down like that, because when people start talking that way, Tone's correct. He was angry, but I get it. I understand. You're going to have to start moving on from that, because the fact of the matter is a lot of us are there already. Mm-hmm. But you're going to always be surrounded by people who aren't there. That's just the nature of anything. When you have this many people, you're going to be surrounded by the vast majority who aren't going to be there. They're followers. That's how movements work. You always have a small selection of people who are going to be in the lead, a few more people who are going to follow, and then other people who are going to sort of stumble along as the train moves out the station. The train is out of the station right now. They're on the ropes. That's why they're struggling. They're shuffling right now, because the argument is too strong, too powerful, too obvious. Mm-hmm. That's why they're getting all this. You're getting Newsom with this little crap he's doing. You're getting all around the country little crap that they're throwing out here to try to get this going and muddled up, because they know the argument is too solid. You can't walk away. Yeah, they go back to slavery. Let's forget slavery and talk about the apartheid we went through. All of that, and that is all documented within one lifespan. And they know that, and they know that that's right there on the table. You can bring a lawyer in the room and go, "Oh, we got all this." Let's let you have slavery. Let's talk about the last 100 years or so, and let's pay out for that. It would be enormous. Mm-hmm. If we go back beyond that, unfathomable. So they're on the ropes. They're losing. It's just that we can't. You ever seen a boxing match where the one boxer he can win the fight, but he's so tired and exhausted that he can barely get that fist up? That's right. All we got to do is hit him one time good, and the fight's over. But we can't get the fist up because we're too tired. We've been so exhausted by this battle, and I understand it, because I look around and I see so many the two guys to call. I'm not insulting anybody. I can't, because I have people in my life, people in my family. I understand it. We're damaged. I mean, they really hit us with.
Well, let me say this, caller. I know Antonio was annoyed but Antonio doesn't suffer ignorance, and that was a lot of ignorance. I'm not even like I'm not even perturbed by it. I'm just at the point where it used to be a point I would hold my punches a little bit, right? I just don't do that anymore. Like, because we are beyond the point. Listen, if we are beyond the point of just everybody holding their punches and whatever. Like, you have to, and this is just a leadership style just in general. You create a culture, right? And the culture needs to be grabbing on to the people in the front and saying, I need to get there, right? I need to get to where they are. And I'm gonna put my nose down and grind. I'm gonna try to get this information. I'm gonna get to where the people are who have been here. The culture can't be pulled back to where the people are who just got here. So yes, we can teach you, but I think people have to be very careful, because you can teach people, but you can't coddle them, right? And coddling and teaching are two different things. We can absolutely teach you, but we're going to interrogate your ideas. And if you are reflective, you will be like, yeah, I kind of got that messed up, and you'll come back next time. If not, that just is what it is, and you were not a good fit for what we're doing. And so I think years ago, like I said, I would have just tried to, well, kind of what you think about this or what. No. We're beyond that, because one of the things we have to be careful about too, we don't want to be 10 years from now and be just still talking, and it'd be a bunch of grifters and everybody, and then somebody calls in again and says, well, you can't, you just gotta, people. I believe that organizers on the ground necessarily have to meet people where they are, but this part of ADOS is a talk show, right? This part of what we do is not the foundation. This is a talk show. And it could go any which way. This is not a seminar. This is not you at the chapter information session. This is not you anywhere, but you have called up to a line, a public platform, and you might get the business. That's just what it is. Because even being on YouTube, it's education, but it's also a lot of people tune in here to say, hey, I like the presentation, I like whatever. But we can't be retrograde. We can't go back. Like, you making points about the UN again? Like, how long and then you say you've been a supporter or follower for a long time, and you making we should go to the UN? You could not have been a supporter for a long time. But go on, fam, I'm sorry.
No, you're right. That's what I'm saying. That at a point here, I mean, well, we're already there. I think you're already there. I think that at this point, you move forward with the people we have, and like you said, this is a YouTube, this is a public forum, so you can throw things like that out there. Use them as points of education to show people that, hey, we're beyond that now. We moved on because we've moved past that point now. Like I said, we're at the point now where we're actually winning strongly when you see so many public figures. I mean, you had what's the dude, the British guy, the Piers Morgan attacking reparations. I mean, you got these figures coming out attacking reparations that have so supposedly no dog in the fight. They're being put forward with these talking points to attack reparations. I mean, these straw man arguments they're putting out, and I'm like, wait a minute, hold up a second. When it's that much in the public discourse that you're actually getting figures. And all around the country, I've seen it out of Australia, I've seen it out of Europe, I've seen all these people talking about reparations in the negative because they feel like, hey, this can happen here. And I've seen people of color, I hate to use the term people of color, but other people, non-white people around the world saying reparations for us. And I know I saw some people in the Philippines, Malaysia, all over the place talking about, wait a minute, these were wrongs that were done to us. And we need to address that money that was taken back to the kingdoms. And so you're starting to get that, and they see it, they feel it, they know what's up, and they know it's justified, and they can't do anything about it. We have them. What you're talking about now is just the distractions that are going on. All these distractions and these people who don't quite know what they're doing because they're locked in their own world. Like the people that called up, and a lot of people in Black America are trapped in their own misery. I mean, I get it. Trapped in your own misery, and we've been losing for the last few decades because we've been attacked so strongly. I mean, just recently. I mean, the Kamala thing, that was a huge attack to have this insult. You might as well spit in my face with Kamala. I mean, seriously, that was a spit in the face. I mean, Obama was a spit in the face. But all of these attacks, these weird, undermining, weird, bizarre machinations that they put forward, and none of that's working because it's like the eyes are on the prize for real right now. Yeah. And they know that. They're like, wait a minute. They've actually focused in on what the real issue is. The real issue has always been one of wealth. It's always been there. As what Lorraine Hansberry said in Raised in the Sun, the famous quote, when grandmother said, it's about money now. And he says, Mama, it's always been about money. We just didn't know. That's the whole key to this thing. Because if you're going to play this game, if you're going to be with these people, it's going to be about wealth. And the number doesn't matter. Just look at the money they're throwing around right now, trillions of dollars. We talked about that before. Now all of a sudden, trillions of dollars on the table all the time. Ukraine, over here, over there, everywhere. $1 trillion here, $1 trillion there. What are you talking about? Of course you can do this money. Of course you have to do it because it's a debt that's owed. The numbers are there. We've already tracked it down. You have institutions that are trying to give reparations, quote unquote. Was it Harvard who said we're going to give some reparations for the money that we made? It's like they're trying to offset it by getting ahead of it. We'll give you some money. We know we're wrong. Okay, here's some money. Here's a couple of $100 million, because they don't want to give the real money. They'll throw some money out there because they know what the real bill is. So let me just get ahead of that. I was good. I gave you some money. So when you have these people who call in, you have discussions. Other people have discussions in real life with people. I've had those discussions with people who, they're negative in reparations. They throw out bad history. They throw out bad politics. They throw out bad sociology. They throw out bad psychology. They throw all that stuff out there because, once again, also our intelligentsia was decapitated as well. Our political leadership was decapitated. All that happened in 68 to 78. The PSYOPs movement was strong. When we decapitated all this, we lost steam. And then you were hit with mass incarceration and crack cocaine together. And so we've lost decades of what should have been here. And so we have this false leadership of grifters and freaking carpetbaggers, or whatever you want to call these people, who are standing in the way, standing there where we should have actual strong leadership that should have gotten us further along, but now is bubbling up through the grassroots. You and Tone and others this is what you're getting. You're going to get this. And as far as education, I'm gonna get off here. But as far as education goes, saying that people say, "Oh, I only went to high school," I don't. I'm sorry, I can't give that to you. What college did Fannie Lou Hamer graduate from?
But let me say something. Let me say something about that though.
Let me say something. Graduate from? What PhD did she have?
But let me say something.
Don't tell me nothing.
Let me say something. We're a long way away from Fannie. See, I hate when people and I'm not dissing you, Carla, but I hate when people talk about that as if like we are as if you're talking to Fannie Lou Hamer and telling Fannie Lou Hamer you don't have an education. That woman was a force to be dealt with. Now, if you are Fannie, we can talk about whatever. If you are putting in work, we can talk about whatever. I hate when people do that, and because what happens a lot of the times too is that by saying none of that matters, I don't think people understand that what you're telling the other person too is that their expertise does not matter. So if you say, well, the college don't matter and this don't matter, well, you're telling the person who did go and who takes it seriously that thing that they have that made this movement possible does not matter. So I would never say that Fannie Lou Hamer doesn't matter. I would say I ain't seen Fannie Lou in a long time. And if I see her, or if I see people who are organizing and doing good work, and I have seen them, I'm not going to tell them, hey, you don't do X, Y, and Z because you have an education. I would never even say that to Reggie, because Reggie, in terms of finishing college, like he just said, he did the work. Like, you have to, if you hear Fannie Lou talking, when she's talking to the DNC, you understand that is a woman who did a lot of work in understanding America. We still play her quotes because she did the work of understanding racism and how it impacted America.
Yvette, that's my point. My whole point in saying that is not to denigrate people who've gone to college. I have a master's degree. I'm not denigrating people who've gone to school. What I'm saying is, not going to school is no excuse for ignorance.
No, it's not.
It isn't. I don't let you fall on that. I don't care if you fell out of 6th grade.
Yeah.
I'm not letting that be an excuse for you to be lazy and not do the work of being a citizen and being a part of your culture. You cannot abdicate your responsibility to learn by saying, I didn't finish high school. That don't fly with me.
But they do the other thing though. They do the opposite. But they do the opposite, fam.
Like people I grew up with who weren't Fannie Lou Hamers, but they were people who 8th grade. My grandfather 8th grade education. He was politically astute. It's like there's no excuse for ignorance.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But I agree with you. But what happens is if you tell them. And that's just kind of what happened, that you are ignorant and you have not moved from 10th grade. Like if you tell somebody you are ignorant and you have not moved from 10th grade, it's not to say like, oh my God, everybody think you're better than somebody because you whatever. It's to say that like you have not moved in your intellectual evolution since you dropped out. And as a person who has not moved and has not grown and has not done the work, you cannot say anything to anyone else. See, it's a foundational thing, and I agree with you. I'll let you go out because I got a couple more calls I'm gonna try to get in. But you have to have put in work, and when you call in and make it obvious to everybody that you haven't done any work, it's just kind of like, what do you want? What do you want? And then when you call them out on it, they say, oh well, you're being elitist. Well, that becomes a problem. But I'm gonna let you have the last word, fam.
Yeah, I talk about that too, because the thing about the intellectual elitism, I'm torn. I get that because I've been in a room with that too. That does become a problem sometimes.
Yeah.
But when you go to the doctor, you expect the doctor to give you a diagnosis. You don't expect to argue with the doctor about the diagnosis if you trust the doctor to know what he's doing. And that's one of the problems that we have. You have to allow, if you respect somebody's intellectual abilities and the knowledge that they've accrued over time, then you let that go. You say, this person knows more than me. I can learn from them. That is an issue. Now, like I said, on the other hand, I have a master's degree too. I've been in a room with these people educated who have been like, hey, I'm throwing this down. But that's not what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with I hate to say it, we're dealing with a very simple concept here. We're dealing with a concept of actual justice. It's a very simple thing. It's just that we need to get our head around that and understand we need to be made whole. That's it. We need to be made whole.
Yep.
As a people.
Absolutely.
As a people, we need to be made whole. It's very simple.
Yep.
Make us whole.
Absolutely.
I don't care how you do it. You know how to do it. We'll just work on that.
Absolutely.
There you go.
No problem.
I know that chair is hard.
Oh no, I'm fine. But like,
that
listen,
chair, so you be more comfortable.
No, I just
the ride is long.
Hey, it's fine. I don't got no issue. It's fine. Everybody just got to know. Like, listen, this is an evolution, and this is the vet of 2023. Even Antonio 2023 is not the one of 2015 and 16, right? And so like the things that are allowed is not that it's gonna be for me, from my perspective. I can only speak from my perspective. From my perspective, there's going to be an interrogation, right, of your ideas. That because 2015, 16, 17, so much stuff was new. I wasn't interrogating your ideas. I was just trying to give you mine and trying to do. No. Like now the expectation is that you have read things, you do have an idea, and you're not just calling up here to be contrarian. You have some ideas of your own. 770. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, greetings, Yvette. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. Speak up a little bit for me, fam.
Yes, this is Rio Jackson. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right, thank you. Calling you from Atlanta, Georgia, and I just wanted to call you and, I see, there's so much confusion when it comes to politics. I don't know why you continue to say, maybe you can inform me. You say that we should not vote or hold our vote. Well, the elections and our presidential elections are just around the corner. And I think the only pathway as our community to get reparations is to somehow boycott our very own economy, where we are restricting participating in the economy, where we are almost forced to send the country into a deficit and let our voices be heard that way. I think that's our only way to pathway to reparations, and I think it will happen very quickly if we were to boycott ourselves from the economy.
How do we do that?
A blackout.
How do we do that though? Like we have fundamental needs that the economy serves.
We do have fundamental needs, but it has to happen gradually. There's certain units in the stock market that can be
you know, and that could be something that can grow. But if it's reparations that they're trying to do, our voices have to be heard. They're dangling reparations in California over our heads with no intention of giving us reparations, with none whatsoever. You know, and
All right, fam.
our community, yes, we are very, and our community is just so divisive, but we have to come together and be able to boycott our very own economy.
Thank you,
so
Colin.
that
I
we're
appreciate you
able
calling
to-
in. You have a wonderful day. Listen, I'm cutting some of these calls short. I'm sorry, because people can't land planes. It just seems people will go on like y'all having a conversation on the telephone. Well, thank you, Rio. But it's people will go on and on and on. I'm trying to be respectful to the people in the queue. We 2 hours in. I'm trying to be respectful to the people in the queue. So let's get in here and land this plane. Get in here and land this plane and be respectful to the people who are coming after you. No, we can't. I know we cannot do. A boycott does not. How are you going to 2 units of what? I love y'all, but woo. Listen. Let me go to the next call. I'm sorry. Let me go. Somebody who was in the call? Somebody's in here that was disagreeable. Y'all said. Which one was that? Who was? I want to get to the disagreeable call. I want to. Who was the disagreeable call, y'all? Who the disagreeable call? Put your thing in here. We having fight night. We having fight night. Who's the disagreeable caller? Put your area code in here. We go fight night. Who we fight with? I want to make sure I got somebody we go. Hey, if it's gonna be fight night, I can go. All right, let's square up. Little by little, we go. That's what we gonna do. Who was it? Oh my God. Oh yeah, I think people are feeling sounding real discombobulated. People are sounding discombobulated. I'm trying to find out who the disagreeable call. What is the disagreeable call? I'm trying to get the who is you? I'm trying to figure out who the disagreeable caller was. Now that was a recent call. This may be the call. Who want to fight? Somebody said don't do it. I don't know who it is to do it. I got a bunch of calls here, so I don't know who it is. I can't do it. I don't know who it is. So let me go to 520. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? I need an area
Hi,
code.
Yvette. My
Hey.
name is Tanesa.
Hey, what's going on?
I hope I'm not the disagreeable caller.
I don't know. Are you? Somebody was
I
talking.
think I do.
I saw something in there. Somebody was talking trash or something in the thing, and
Oh, no,
I was just trying to figure out who it was. So I don't want to look like I dodged nobody. I don't dodge no smoke. But go on, Carl. I'm sorry.
Okay, I've been watching your YouTube for several years, I think, when you first got started. And
Okay.
I'm 42, and I've learned a lot from you, and I would like to know if you have a book list on your website. I just saw your website that you released in the chat, and I just went over there real quick, but I haven't gotten a chance to look all around to see if you have a book list. So that's something that I would like to know about.
we did
I'm
have one.
42. I live in my...
We did have one, but I think it got polluted. People started adding stuff in there that we didn't read. There used to be a Goodreads book club, just breaking down Goodreads, but they started adding stuff in there that we ain't. I don't see some of that stuff I didn't recommend. So you could look for it. 843, you the disagreeable call. Okay, but go on, fam. I'm sorry.
Okay, so in the learning that I've done from watching your YouTube shows, you're so knowledgeable and you've recommended so many books, and there's so much knowledge that has come out of it. And being ADOS myself and having family that has been here for centuries, and we have our own history and lineage, and comparing the information and the data, like Tone likes to say, it is obvious that money is good and money is helpful, if that's what they're talking about in terms of reparations. But as a people, there's more that's needed. You know, in my family, I mean, right now I'm homeless. I'm 42. I'm living in my parents' home, where they own it outright. You know, my parents are, close enough to the baby boomer generation, and they were able to get in, with society, but that next generation, there wasn't that pass down, to where we were able to get in the same way. And my father's passed away. He was only 65 years old. And, the lack of health care there, where he had, reasonable amount of education and access to health care. So what will money do? My point is that we get the money, we still have to plug it into this society, and that's the problem, is that we're having people that took us captive, brought us under their government, be our governors, be our teachers. We have to answer to them. I mean, these people are our landlords. Why should people who took us captive and brought us under their governance be our landlord? We should never have to answer to them. That is the ongoing, continual problem that we will ever face.
They bought you fair and square. They were sold. They was on the market. Flesh trade. But I appreciate you, caller. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate you. I want you to have a wonderful day. Yeah. I was gonna say something else. Yeah, I don't know why y'all. See why y'all get Antonio so mad? Antonio, I was trying to talk Antonio and said, "Hold on, Yvette. I'm trying to. Y'all got Antonio fired up with that stuff. What y'all do that for?" It's totally agreeable. I don't know what I don't know what we're in America and so I didn't address the call because I don't know. I don't know. Like what you see, I don't know. Like you say what they took us captive and what are we gonna do? There's some bells that you can't unring. That's what I'm saying. But why y'all get in? You can't unring that bell. 843. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Oh, yes. This is Ryan from South Carolina.
What's going on, Ryan?
I just want to be real quick. I just want to be real quick and say that it's because of this movement we've been talking about reparations. No other movement in recent memory, no other politician, whatever, ever really attacked reparations like we've done. It's because of us that the reparations became a national conversation because of the work that y'all did with the ADOS conference, speaking with Marianne Williamson. She put it on the national stage, so I mean nobody else can really say that, And I appreciate you, Tone, the work y'all put in, and also another win that we did is the retraction, the Harvard retraction of how they really spoke, called us bots and tried to put that disinformation out on us. Y'all was able to get that retraction from Harvard, which is phenomenal. All of that work has been done even before the chapters moved out. So this ADOS movement is continuing to change the conversation. So it's not like we haven't done anything. Some of the callers call in and like we pretty much just talking and not doing anything. Plenty of things have been done. Even recently with this OMB a conversation, how we try to get the ADOS put on the census. So if that happens, can you imagine the movement, the power that we have done to get reparations? It's just phenomenal. And like I said, all of this has been done even before we put the chapters out. So you can imagine once the chapters come out, how much more we can accomplish. So that's just real quickly. I just wanted to point that out. We've been getting things done. So I'll end it there.
Thank you. I appreciate you. And one thing I'll say though is that we don't do a head count and we don't do a work count. So we don't know when the person calls in what they've done, right? Like some of the people who do a lot of work in this org and a lot of retweeting and a lot of stuff, they don't do a lot of talking. Like you see them do stuff and you don't even really know who they are, right? I just figured out who a couple of people were who put in a lot of work like recently, right? Like you don't really know. Like sometimes I'll see people even online who are like reading stuff and doing stuff and be like, who is this? Like so, I don't think we assume that somebody that a person who called in is necessarily doing work for the org because they called in, right? I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can make that assumption. Right? I don't think you can make the assumption that they're inside of HQ. I don't even think you can make the assumption that they retweeted. Right? I mean, because like you said, it's a call-in show, and some people could just be trolls. Like when you call in using tether language, you're probably over there with the other guy. You're not even probably a part of what we're doing. That's part of the reason when I hear certain triggers, it's like, okay, I understand. You came from over there to over here. You can say all day that you support me and you love me or whatever, but once you start using the language that was started over there, it becomes clear to me, okay, you probably, you adhere to what that person says. And what you're trying to do is come over here and say ADOS is a bunch of Democratic shields or whatever the case may be. And the only way for you to say it is to like intentionally misinterpret something that I'm saying. And so that's what I hear. And that's part of what Antonio hears. And I don't know if all the ears hear that. Like this language, this kind of get off the Democratic plantation tether class language is not ADOS language. That is from a toxic group over there. So when you come over here using that language, I don't even think you're ADOS. In terms of the movement, I think you're coming over here to cause trouble. That's where my mind goes. So I don't even treat you the same way I would treat somebody who I think is really invested in the movement. I don't make that assumption. When you start using those words and when you start using those language, certain bells go off in my head about who you are and what you really represent outside of this call-in show. And I don't like none of it. So you have to understand what bells are ringing in my head that make me believe that person has never retweeted an ADOS tweet. Right? Maybe they have, but it doesn't sound like it. And if it does, you have a divided mind. If you're going over here and using this language, coming back over here, it's still problematic. So, that's just what it seems like to me. So I'm gonna go to one last call, fam, and then that's gonna be it for the night because we're at like 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'm going to 484. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello?
What's going on, 484?
How you doing? This is Twist. Calling from Philly. I've called in before. I've been, huge watcher and fan of your show.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you, you and Tone, for all the work that you guys have been putting in and doing. One of the things that y'all talk about has been the data and let the data speak for itself. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I really commend you guys for, and I thank you for, we have data-led conversations when we talk about stuff. Emotions is in it, we do understand that, but we let the data speak for itself, and we speak about what the data leads us to. It ain't about what we think and what we feel. It's about what the data talks and what it speaks to, and that's how we have our conversation. I don't know why we got people calling in tonight that really don't understand that, but y'all need to go back and watch some of the shows. Y'all need to be doing some listening. And y'all need to be understanding that this is a movement that got started by Yvette and Tone, and we know who the leaders are. So I just wanted to call in to say that, and
thank you,
and just thank you, and keep pushing. And I'm waiting for the chapters in Philly to get started.
All right, make sure you go to that ADOS.org. Go sign up for the chapter information session. Because we depending on you to be in Philly to be ready for it to get started. So, we might be depending on you to start the chapter in Philly. So, I want everybody to show up to have the information. And
I'm ready.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, family. If you go to ADOS, if you go to the @ADOS.org Twitter, you can click on, and it's on this pin to my, I pinned it to my, to Twitter. I pinned it to the YouTube chat. So, sign up for the Zoom and look forward to seeing you there.
And one more thing, too,
sure.
Yvette. I didn't want to say nothing about it, but the guy that got into it, I'm ADOS, I don't know how to say his name, but the guy that's running for office that got into it with Don Lemon, he had a whole conversation with people. He's basically using empowerment porn and using stuff to Farrakhan, and he's using the lingo to hurt us that we've used against ourselves and we talk down ourselves.
Yep.
Like, he all the people like Shazad Ali and all these negative, Claude Anderson, all these negative people that's been talking down to us since the 90s and beyond, he's literally using the same language that these people use to talk down on us.
Well, wasn't it bound to happen, though, fam? Wasn't somebody else bound to pick up, like what you say Antonio calls empowerment porn, and use it themselves? Like, once they figure out that it worked. Like, and I think, let me just tell y'all a theory. I have a theory that they've been doing this for decades. In the sense of, you know, when we go back to the Charles Wu controversy with Boyce Watkins, where he was like, what he said, Boyce is a character, and he had the way he sells product. He said the way Boyce sells product is basically to sell everything as empowerment. So he said everything was, this is how to get the white man off your back. This is how you're gonna fight the man. Everything is that. So
he started crying. He started crying.
He said then he started crying. And it was great. You know, it really sold. The numbers really went up. So if Charles Wu, like if that Asian man knows that that's how you tap into like the market with ADOS people, you don't think Tariq knows it in terms of, I'm going to spout these ADOS talking points, I'm going to tap into it. You don't think Ramaswamy knows it in terms of, I'm going to use it from these people. Like, they're all going to start. It works. It works. It's a trigger. It's a little lever. It's a little switch. You just pull and you turn on and you activate us. Like, activate ADOS right now. And poof, you put an empowerment point and we get activated. We're going to buy whatever you're selling and we just going to resonate. So it was bound to happen.
Too many of our people who ain't got nothing in their pocket, as poor as ever, think like they say the same things that say it on Fox News.
Yeah.
They're conservative.
Yeah.
They say the same things that you read on Fox News. They ain't got nothing in their pocket.
Well, and then they'll swear they're not a conservative. That's why I say you got to get clear on your ideology. Like, if you, and some of these people are to the right of conservatives. Like, some of these people are to the right of Donald Trump. They're to the right of a George W. Bush back in the day. Because there's a difference even between limited government, which is Republican, and nearly no government, which is libertarian. And so when you hear somebody say, I don't need nothing from government, that's not even a Republican standpoint. Republicans vote for stuff and want stuff out of government all the time. And remember, they used to get mad at George W. Bush because they said he was a big government Republican. So what happens is, when you listen to some of these people, they are libertarians. They are to the right of the Republican Party. And so that's, hey, do what you do if you're a libertarian, but if you're a libertarian, I want you to tell me how your grandmother, and I said this Monday, how your grandmother and your granddaddy are going to pay for their needs, because right now it's being paid for with a Social Security check. So if you don't believe in government at all, there are some things that government actually services in terms of your life, and I need you to tell me how you plan to replace those things in your life without government being there.
They don't have a clue. They don't have a clue of what it means to be libertarian or what they are. Only thing they know is that they've grown up hating and spitting rhetoric that's anti-ADOS, and that's all they know. They believe that they are actually are welfare mothers. They believe we actually want to sell crack.
Absolutely.
They've grown up on a rhetoric that hate ADOS, and they believe it. Thanks, Yvette. I appreciate you, and I'll see you soon, and fight.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. And listen, fam. I had fun tonight. I don't know. I mean, listen. I had this kind of fun in a good many shows. I have not. I have not had this kind of good fun and good laughing and good fisticuffs and hey, it's not no big deal for me. I had a great time. This was refreshing. Anyway, fam, let me get out of here and stop playing around for somebody else call in. Somebody call it just want to fight or whatever. But it's all good. You have to interrogate people's ideas. Or people don't be so sensitive. Like, you come back tomorrow, you come back next week and fight again and just fight better. You just need new gloves. That's all. And you punch and you gotta watch your feet. You had your feet planted wrong. Your feet wasn't like on a square. Your feet was catacorner. So get that together. Like, or it was like you were standing on a rope. You got to plant your feet different or whatever. That's all. Ain't no hard feelings. Anyway, fam, I got to get out of here. So I'll let y'all finish up your libations. Get ready for bed. See those of you all who have signed up for the chapter information sessions. I will see y'all tomorrow. And then we have some coming for the weekend. See you there as well. Keep it easy breezy. Don't bother nobody. Don't let nobody bother you. Don't let none of these folks get on your nerves. Because that's how you quit. People get on your nerves. So, man, I'm tired of this. This people is crazy. It's fine, fam. It's fine. But they're going to get a little bit more interrogation than they've been getting. That's just what it is. And Antonio going to call in and he's going to be like, blah, blah, blah. Y'all have a good night, fam. I'll see y'all next time. it.